if you're dark skinned, you gotta chill with the transphobia.
Yeah.
Because you're first in line. Big women. If you with the transphobia and you're a bigger woman,
you're also going to be subject to it.
You gotta stop. You gotta chill.
It's going to hurt all of us.
It's going to swing on your ass too.
And I'm a big bitch too. That's why I was like, I have been called a man many times. Yes, many times before this too. I've been called. I've been accused. It's all of that. That's why I said all of our oppression is tied together. It's all tied together. So it's very upsetting to me when women of color are TERFs too.
Please, dear, keep smiling and scatter the flowers.
I ought to be scattering some teeth. I should have been the queen.
Please, Chris.
Don't you touch me. You don't know me that well. Who do you think you are anyway?
I'm Chris Charn. I'm a member of her royal family.
If you're a member of her family, you should be wearing a bandit's outfit. Because y'all robbed me, honey.
It's making my lips so hard and crispy. Ooh, would you like some?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Did you take Lamar's?
No, but I was with Lamar and Lamert, man. I don't know Lamar. Ain't he light-skinned and stuff? And he used to pop lock and stuff back in the day. I remember him. He's good. He's good. I'll rock his word. I still will. I'm so scared. Why you be scared?
I can't help it. I'm 2 weeks overdue.
Oh, girl, that ain't nothing. I'm about 2 months overdue. I just crossed my legs and held it in because I wanted me a Capricorn. Ooh, boy, I feel like this baby is kicking field goals in my stuff. I guess I shouldn't drink all that Kool-Aid.
Oh, my God. Your water broke, doctor.
Yes, nurse. What seems to be the problem?
What the hell? Get her to the burn unit immediately.
She is about to give birth, doctor.
She looks like a damn moose chewing ice.
Time to play games with you, okay?
Hey, Bubba, ain't nobody playing no games, all right? Ain't nobody playing no games, all right? All I want to know is why Martin had a party and didn't invite me. I mean, I like the party, all right? It ain't like the party, all right? It ain't like the
party. Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the
It's just me. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm coming. I'm good. I'm good. Trust me. I'm good. Go ahead.
Fucking
presentation is to provide a critical entry point into the arguments I develop more fully in my book. Because the discourse around trans ideology so often misrepresents or erases the histories of Black women, I will begin with a short historical overview. This overview is not intended to be exhaustive. Rather, it highlights the ways in which trans-identified males position themselves as experts on Black women's experiences and how such claims function to distort historical knowledge and reframe it for male advantage. My aim here is to establish a framework that underscores the indispensability of women's histories across races while demonstrating why historical literacy is essential to resisting the false narratives advanced by fetishistic men. Since this discussion centers on Black women and trans ideology, it is necessary to examine the more recent claims emerging from the trans community concerning women, and Black women in particular. In recent years, we have seen both Black and white trans-identified males lean heavily on their selective knowledge of the historical suffering of Black women. This knowledge is not employed in solidarity, but rather as a weapon deployed against white women who they claim were responsible for the plight of Black women and use to rewrite history in ways that recast themselves at its center. Once recast, it also allows him to point the finger at others, specifically white women, who he deems responsible for the historical suffering of Black women. It is crucial to note that this continual reliance on the histories of Black women has little to do with genuine respect for them. Rather, his constant invocation of her struggle operates in four distinct ways. First, these men know very well that the Black woman sits in a singular place of betrayal. Not only has her own community abandoned her, she is left without broad support, which makes her uniquely vulnerable. His pandering to her is effective precisely because it is transactional. In exchange for his feigned respect, he secures an enforcer whom he then deploys to check, discipline, and silence other women into compliance on his behalf. Second, it grants him the appearance of historical authority before an audience he knows is largely indifferent to Black women and their history. Third, it allows him to weaponize references to Black women suffering against white women who refuse to accept his claim of what he believes is womanhood. And fourth, it enables him to hijack the framework of intersectionality for himself, using it as a tool to coerce and bully women into recognizing him as what he believes is female. In the sections that follow, we will break these 4 points apart and examine each in turn, using history as our template and evidence. So because I am so excited about this opportunity, I went ahead and made a timeline for all of the women watching this presentation right now. And if you look at your screen, you can see here on the left-hand side, we have what I call the era of enslavement and political exclusion, 1600s to the 1960s, where we have the solidification of the Black female, her presence, and her sex. This is very important because when you hear men like T.S. Madison and Hope Giselle claim that Black women were never seen as women, these are lies. Black women were always seen as women. And this is evident in how she was brutalized by both Black and white men. Masculinization was a tactic to justify brutality, not a belief. Today, Black and white trans-identified men repeat the same strategy to excuse their treatment of Black women today. During this time period, Black women were exploited as laborers, breeders, and commodities under slavery. White men used law and violence to control every aspect of Black women's reproductive and economic life. Black man did not do the same because he was not owner of the Black female body as the white male was previously. But when slavery ended, he became owner through brutality and employed her body to the selling of sex to other Black men and white men alike. After emancipation, Black men gained political rights, 15th Amendment, 1870, before Black women. Next, we will move over to the era of legal erasure, 1976, where de Graffenried versus General Motors happened, and Black women sued them for discrimination. The case was dismissed, reasoning GM hired white women and Black men, and this era is very important because it exposed how law erased Black women by forcing them into race-only or sex-only categories. After this, we have Crenshaw's work in 1989, where she captured the unique oppression of Black women. Her concept highlighted how Black women were erased when race and sex were considered separately. This was created to explain Black women's lived realities, not to justify male inclusion in women's spaces as the trans community would like for you to believe today. Then we have the era of caricature, 1970s to the 1990s, where we have Flip Wilson, Jamie Foxx, and Martin Lawrence, who presented Black women as grotesque, loud, and hypersexual for laughs. This era normalized the mockery of Black women as a form of entertainment and set the cultural stage for future appropriation of Black womanhood by trans-identified males. It also established woman-face as acceptable parody. And lastly, we have the era of hijacking, 2000s to the present, where trans-identified males appropriated intersectionality and Black women's history. Male pandering is strategy, exploiting Black women's history to discipline all women. The robbery of Black women's history and struggle goes unnoticed precisely because Black women are only considered valuable enough to steal from when it serves a purpose for the trans-identified male. Black and white men alike do not care about the plight of Black womanhood. Their only interest is in using it as a silencing tool against women who are not Black and who dare to question them, especially when they are operating within the framework of their fetish. The persistent masculinization of Black women, as introduced at the outset of this presentation, derives from the ways men treat women they deem undesirable. Within popular culture, Black men have long established darker skin and larger bodied Black women as undesirable, a judgment that translates into the rhetorical move of labeling them men. This maneuver is not accidental. Many of these same men whose desires are shaped by fetishistic attraction to other men weaponize the charge of masculinity against Black women precisely because it wounds, simultaneously discrediting their womanhood and reinforcing their marginalization. When men deem women, particularly Black women, unworthy of conventional desirability, they recast them in masculinized terms, thereby legitimizing their disdain for them. In this context, T.S. Madison's claim that transphobia affects dark-skinned women functions less as an acknowledgement of their lived experiences and more as a projection of his own biases. Implicit in his argument is the notion that darker-skinned and larger-bodied women occupy a position of inherent undesirability. Thus, they should accept his claim to what he believes is womanhood because, in his view, no one else would value their perspectives on sex. In effect, his assertion centers male authority by reinforcing the idea that men ultimately determine the parameters of desirability and, by extension, the legitimacy of women's voices. The only voice he permits her as a Black woman is one that silences other women into compliance. A stark example unfolded at San Francisco State University on April 6, 2023, when Riley Gaines, a white female athlete, spoke about being compelled to compete against a trans-identified male, William Thomas. During her visit, she was not only met with hostility from the student body, but also verbally attacked by other women, particularly Black women, who called her a bitch and publicly aligned themselves with a group of men who have historically contributed nothing to the struggle of Black womanhood in America except to appropriate it. This alignment underscores the way in which Black women's voices are conscripted into service of the trans agenda, even in the absence of trans-identified males themselves. The rhetorical move to delegitimize Gaines while defending Thomas illustrates how Black women's social position, already framed through masculinization and marginalization, is exploited as a tool to enforce compliance and erase dissent. The performance of authority, the stage historian. One of the most persistent features of American popular culture has been the negative caricature of Black women. From the 1970s portrayals such as Flip Wilson's Geraldine to Jamie Foxx's Wanda on In Living Color, the Black female aesthetic has been repeatedly exploited by men for comedic and commercial gain. These performances do more than entertain. They dehumanize the Black female body and her person. They prime audiences to see Black women as grotesque, disposable figures rather than as human beings deserving of empathy or defense. Thus, when Black women suffer, society has already been conditioned to dismiss their pain as something other than real or urgent. In this context, the audacity of trans-identified males, particularly Black trans-identified males, claiming authority over Black womanhood is staggering. They now speak on the historical mistreatment of Black women as though they have been its stewards all along. Yet prior to their insistence on being recognized as what they believe is a woman, they did not remind anyone of Black women's plight. Their invocation of her suffering is a recent, strategic move, adopted only once they found themselves at their manufactured margins and in need of centering. The mechanism for this centering is clear. Lean upon the history of the Black woman, appropriate her suffering, and repurpose it as proof of their own legitimacy. It is important to recognize that his earlier portrayals and references to Black women had nothing to do with reverence or solidarity, and certainly not with any authentic engagement with her struggle. Instead, they were bound up in exploitation, caricature, and mockery. His present performance, framing himself as tethered to her history, represents not respect but the exercising of his fetish, rebranded as a civil right. This is not unique to Black trans-identified males. White trans-identified males and gay men have engaged in the same appropriation, but the dynamics differ in telling ways.
Take a picture, bitch. Mwah, kissy face. Ha! Shut the fuck up. Pull up, stupid bitch. Why you lurking on my page, bitch? Why? I need answers. Like my pictures, bitch. Why you hating? Why? Cause I'm cute, I'm pretty, I got a deep cup titty. Period. You talk about, hello, 911, she's spying on me. Leave me alone. Fuck off my page, bitch. Girl, I need you to come get me right now. No, for real, right now. Please. No, because they'll always look at me. Bitch, I was stealing at Dillard's. Yes, bitch, and that big ass security guard said, drop it. I said, drop what? No, bitch, I took off. Bitch, you gotta come now. No, bitch, I took off. I ran. I said, no, because I can't take a mugshot right now. I need to lose like 2 pounds. Come get me, bitch. No, we gonna get a smoothie. Bitch, strawberry and kiwi. Hurry.
For the white man, the project has always been to normalize his fetish, to situate it within the language of civil rights so that others are compelled to recognize and even participate in it. For the Black man, the invocation of Black womanhood operates differently. It becomes a vehicle for distancing himself from the stigma and burden of Black masculinity within the United States, while attempting to claim a new form of respectability. In both cases, however, the function is the same. The Black woman's history is seized upon as a legitimizing device. Both men despise women, but both understand that their projects cannot reach the heartstrings of women without invoking the suffering of Black women. Her pain becomes the justification, the moral currency for their fetish and for their escape from accountability, whether from patriarchy broadly or from the specific realities of Black male life in America. Weaponizing Black women's history against white women, as I note in my book, one of the central fears of patriarchy has always been the potential unity of women across racial lines. Patriarchal power depends on division, and men have consistently exploited racial differences, imposed religious compliance without offering women or children any benefit, and manipulated cultural distinctions in order to weaken the natural bonds that arise from their shared sex. Both Black and white women, in their attempts to establish themselves in a society that discriminated against them because they were women, were compelled to perform race loyalty rather than cultivate solidarity with one another. This performance of loyalty forced women into antagonisms that worked against their natural gravitation toward one another, a gravitation rooted in their sexed experience, the capacity to bleed, to give birth, to breastfeed, and to sustain life. Men understood that they had the power to manipulate these divisions, and they institutionalized them through laws and customs. When today's trans-identified male refers to the mistreatment of Black women by white women throughout history, he rarely, if ever, acknowledges that such divisions were not initiated by women themselves, but were constructed and enforced by men. It was men who passed and enforced the laws that separated women along racial lines, men who created the structures that pitted women against one another for survival. Patriarchy thrived on these divisions because isolation left women vulnerable to exploitation by men of all races. Historically, this was visible first in the access white men granted themselves to the bodies of Black women during and after slavery. Black women were legally and socially available to them for sexual violence, forced reproduction, and economic exploitation. Later, once interracial marriage became legal in the United States in 1967 through the Supreme Court decision Loving v. Virginia, Black men too gained access to white women. This new proximity allowed for a new set of dynamics. On one hand, Interracial marriage destabilized the rigid boundaries white patriarchy had enforced. On the other, it provided black men with opportunities to weaponize their relationships with white women against black women, portraying themselves as newly desirable and socially elevated. In both cases, male power was the constant. White men exploited the bodies of black women, while black men, once permitted legal access to white women, often leveraged that access to reposition themselves socially, sometimes at the expense of black women. Meanwhile, white women themselves were subjected to patriarchal control and violence, but their suffering was obscured by the narrative that cast them as the primary oppressors of black women. This narrative, reinforced by both white and black trans-identified males today, absolves men of their treachery. Black trans-identified males similarly obscure the central role of black men and the betrayal of black women by presenting themselves as what they believe to be women suffering from oppression. Yet they can never be women. What they are truly attempting is not marginalization but absolution, an escape from the weight of black masculinity, which has offered them limited prospects into the more advantageous position of black womanhood. Black trans-identified males singularly obscure the central role of black men in the betrayal of black women by presenting themselves as what they believe to be women. The problem is that this performance lacks intellectual and historical grounding. Their selective amnesia enables them to forget how black women were treated at their hands when they occupied the position of men and when they throw on woman face. Putting on a dress does not absolve them of that history, nor does it undo the cultural conditioning that once led them to ridicule and demean black women in order to carve out their own place in a society that denied them full access to power. Intersectionality repurposed for male power. In 1989, Kimberlé Crenshaw introduced the term intersectionality in a groundbreaking law review article that analyzed the case de Graffenried versus General Motors 1976. In that case, a group of black women sued General Motors for employment discrimination after being denied positions. The court dismissed their claim, reasoning that the company did employ both black people and women, yet the women were white and the black employees were men. The specific discrimination faced by black women was therefore rendered invisible, as neither race nor sex alone captured their exclusion. Crenshaw coined intersectionality to name this gap, the ways in which overlapping structures of oppression erased black women from recognition and redress. As I argue in my book, it is crucial to remember that Crenshaw's framework was never designed to justify the inclusion of men in the category of women. Intersectionality arose from and for the specificity of black women's lived experiences. Yet, in more recent years, Crenshaw herself has extended her concept to accommodate trans ideology, a move that illustrates the pressure placed on academics and public figures to conform. Given the political climate, this shift was predictable. To refuse would have been framed as professional heresy, if not outright career suicide. When I speak of intersectionality in this context, I am returning to its original meaning as articulated by Kimberlé Crenshaw before the concept was co-opted and distorted. At its inception, intersectionality was a framework created by a black woman to explain the unique forms of oppression faced by black women, forms that could not be reduced to race alone or to sex alone. Yet what we see today is a hijacking. The trans community has seized upon the language of intersectionality, twisting it to serve male perversions and recasting it as a justification for why men should occupy women's spaces. This strips the concept from its roots in black women's lived realities and retools it into a weapon of coercion, one that pressures women into recognizing men as female. The irony is stark. A framework forged to illuminate the invisibility of black women has been appropriated to make women invisible once again. The trick these men perform with intersectionality and the way they weaponize it against white women is by claiming that black women were never regarded as women by anyone, and that intersectionality is therefore essential to explain their exclusion. But this use of the term is disingenuous. It flips Crenshaw's original intent and remolds it to fit the fetishistic man seeking to center himself by driving a wedge into what was once a precise and airtight concept. To secure his own inclusion, he simply altered the terminology. And because black women's voices are so often disregarded, his revision went largely unchallenged. His version of intersectionality, predictably, expanded to include himself and all the features of his project. The assertion that men can be women, the normalization of sex work, the mutilation of children, and other distortions that have nothing to do with the original framework. What began as a tool to describe the compounded oppression of Black women has been manipulated into a weapon that erases women entirely while serving the interests of men. And because he is male, because he is masculine, and because he dwells in the house of violence, his version of events reigns supreme. Women have been conditioned not to read other women, which leaves space for his distortions to take hold. This is how our histories are repurposed, misconstrued, and shattered. This fixation with his own erection drives him to extraordinary lengths, forcing everyone else to contend with his perversion. The hijacking of intersectionality drags a framework born of women's reality into a male space saturated with sex, racism, and the deliberate preoccupation with the dividing of women. Not as a tool of truth, but as a male weapon to insert himself and drive a wedge between Black and white women, a wedge that serves him directly. He profits from this division by pandering to Black women through a corrupted version of intersectionality, not by honoring its original context, but by weaponizing history. At the same time, he punishes white women for behaviors that men before him not only advocated, but actively conditioned her to embrace. In doing so, he absolves himself of accountability and ensures yet again that women bear the blame for divisions created and enforced by men. Thank you all for listening. Stay sturdy.